Hey Lou, how you doing today?
Doing okay.
Uh, you play the guys you've got, and and adjustments are all the time. But what complications are there when you start a game with this group and then Sauce goes down, or you don't have Kenny Moore for 3 or 4 games and you lose? But I guess how does it limit, or what does it force you to do?
Well, I mean, you go, it's unfortunate with Sauce, play two, he goes down. We certainly had some things cooked up, but you adjust. We have faith in the guys that are coming in the game with JJ and Mackay, and you adjust when a guy like Buck goes down. So I just think everybody in the league deals with injuries. We're no different. You just got to be able to adapt and overcome those things and try to do what the guys do best. So it may change a little bit, but you try not to change the whole thing from a structural standpoint.
I guess if you worry about the injuries too much, then you make it even the problem even worse.
100%. Yeah. And you just get used, again, as I said, it's a part of our league. It's a part of our league that every team has to deal with in one shape, form, or fashion. So, you move on again, I think the beauty of our place is we have depth and, we trust the guys that are out there.
James.
Lou, how would you assess Mooney's performance since he's returned from IR? And also, does his role change at all with Sauce going down?
No, I don't think it changes. I think we want Mooney to be the best version of him. I think anytime that you're off from football for that long and really not practicing with the guys, I think it's going to take you a little time to get back. I think he'll just get better with his practice reps, and I wasn't down on him at all. I love the guy to death. He's really one of the smarter football players I've been around, and I think that he'll continue to get better as he stays with us, practices, and looking forward to watching him this weekend.
Joel.
How do you see your edge rush? You guys have gotten a lot of like really good production from the defensive tackles, but it feels like the edge rush has been a little spotty for you guys.
Well, I think, overall, as I think I've mentioned this before, I think overall, as a collective group, I think we're sixth in the league in sacks. We want to be in the top five for sure. Those, we still have five regular season games to play. I think that, those guys their numbers will continue to improve as we go forward. There's certainly Matt, Rach, and Charlie Partridge do a great job with those guys. And, sometimes they're get a little extra attention when a guy like Buck goes down, so I think there's a little bit to all that. Not down on any of them at all. I think that we'll watch those guys have a big few weeks coming up, and that's what we're counting on.
Kevin.
Lou, what was the plan, I guess, behind Alec Pierce in the Hail Mary attempt?
Just the way it played out. Go either catch it or knock it down. Great volleyball player, just a great receiver. To me, those guys are the best guys. We had T. Higgins do it for us in Cincinnati. The guys that got some length can go up and get it. Makes too much sense to me.
And then the snap count defensively the last 2 weeks, I think it's like north of 160, 170, pretty high number. Is that a number that concerns you at all, or is that not something you really pay attention to?
Yeah, I mean, we'd certainly like to be lower. Part of that is, we weren't as good in third down, the past 2 weeks as we need to be, and that'll get ourselves off the field. What I am proud of, I think it's 173 some odd snaps. When we've given up 3 touchdowns in that span, so that's a lot of pitches that you're facing. We want to keep the touchdowns down, and that's what's important. We've got to do a better job getting off the field on third down for sure.
Nathan.
Lou, from a big picture standpoint, I don't know how much of this you dealt with in your years in Cincinnati, but
Mhm.
as we reference here, a lot of guys coming in and out of the lineup, a lot of different lineup machinations, especially in the secondary. What has this season here in Indianapolis with the schemes that you are wanting to do, maybe kind of changing almost every single week? I know you change those for every single game, but when you've got different guys on the field every single week, how does that, I don't know, make your job more difficult or just change it in some way?
Well, I think again, it goes back to a little bit that you've got to be able to, you don't want to predict injuries. You certainly don't want to forecast them, but um, it's a part of what we deal with. And I think our coaches do a great job. Our assistant coaches do a great job, in the back end with Chris and Jerome Henderson, really doing a good job of keeping these guys that just get here, like a Cam Mitchell. Get here, we rep them in a certain role. They learn that role and then they expand from there. If we can, and our, Chris Ballard and his crew just keep giving us players to backfill the back end of the roster, and we use them, to what we think that they can do. And I think that that's a part of coaching, and I think our guys and our staff do a great job doing that. So whoever we have at our disposal, we'll use them.
And I know you haven't yet had a game this season where you guys have been able to have both Travarius Ward and Sauce Gardner and DeForest Buckner on the field at the same time. Sauce and DeForest kind of ships passing in the wind when Buck went out on IR and Sauce landed on the team. When that time comes, hopefully before the end of this regular season, getting all three of those guys on the field at the same time, all three, all pros. Um, what do you feel like that can do just in raising the level for this unit that you guys have?
Well, you just mentioned you got three premier players at their positions, and I think that offenses will pay attention, especially to Buck. They know what he can do from a rush standpoint, how disruptive he is in the run game, and then you got two guys that can really cover in the back end. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that day as much as everybody else.
We'll go with James, and then Chap will be our last question.
Lou, one, what challenges do the Jaguars present? Obviously, we know who Trevor Lawrence is and others on that roster. And then two, the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in a long time. Have you ever been a part of any like weird streaks, winning or losing in the NFL?
No, I think we had one starting the season, right? We kicked that one down the curb. So,
That you did. That you did.
so to me, it's just this is the next game on the schedule. I think I know we'll approach it that way with the guys, and we're going to play a really good football team on the road, a division game that both teams need to win. So that's our approach there. And I feel like if that's our mindset, we go in it with the right way, we'll go down and put our best foot forward.
And then following up to that, what challenges did they present as an offense? Do you?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned Trevor and his athleticism and his ability to throw the football. Not only that, you get out and run the ball. One game earlier this year against the Chiefs, he was the leading rusher with 50 some odd yards. So he can hurt you with his legs as well as his arm. We're two really good running backs, run hard, downhill type guys. I think the O-line's playing playing well together, and then a really good receiving core. You got guys that can hurt you not only vertically down the field, but you got some really good route runners inside. So they've done a great job putting that team together, and we'll have our hands full this weekend.
Chap, last question.
Yeah, just off the wall with Alec Pierce on the Hail Mary. Do you have to implore to him that, hey, you're really good at high point and catching balls, but knock the thing down and don't try to intercept it? I mean, it's a player. You want to have stats.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of changed over the years. We'll tell all those guys back there, if you can catch the ball, catch it. Because how many times have we seen that thing get tipped and it gets tipped up and then there's a problem? So same thing I told Alec, like, hey, if you can get up and catch it, catch it. And same thing with the other DBs if they get put in that position. Sometimes that victory thing will be on the move and we won't be able to substitute. But if it is a stoppage, then he'll be out there and like I said, just go catch it. Or if you really can't get clean two hands on it, go ahead and spike that thing to the ground.